Hey, Gavin.
Hey, Louie.
That tiny, tiny little drink you have.
This tiny glass? This teeny tiny glass?
It looks like you're ready for murder. On the dance floor.
It doesn't help that I'm giant. So this is actually normal size glass. This is a normal human glass. I'm just a very large.
You're a large man.
Yeah.
But it just looks so dainty. It looks so delicate. I love that you drink. I'm literally drinking like leftover wine out of a plastic cup. A plastic cup that I bought off of Instagram because I am that millennial girl.
You know what? That's a good looking plastic cup though. That looks like a glass cup. That looks like a glass.
And it's like it's got that little dusty rose color on it. So
you can easily trick a toddler with that. That's...
Famously, I love children, so they're just like always in my apartment. Speaking of which, I feel like my nephew and niece are going to be in my apartment soon. I have so much gay stuff in my apartment. I'm very nervous. Like, do I need to be taking down? It's cliche.
Oh my God.
I'm in that movie where like they're like covering like the gay stuff everywhere.
I mean, there is a lot of gay stuff in your apartment, and I don't mean to make this about me, but that diagram I gave you that hangs in your bathroom about the parts of a penis.
Yeah, that'll probably have to be put away, but we'll see. Anyway,
it's educational.
It is.
Yeah.
We're going to save some questions, like that they will have that knowledge already baked in.
Exactly.
Anyway, welcome to the Mixed Reviews.
We are a film podcast where we take a film subject such as an actor, director, or a mini-genre. We take 1 month, we watch and read as much as we can, and we give all that information back to you. We fill our brains so we can fill your brains. It's like a baby bird situation.
Yeah. I feel like this is like getting into like gainer territory. We love filling you up.
Oh, God.
Audiences, our
that
dear
explains
listeners.
what you've been doing to me over these years. No.
Oh my God. This is actually
a pandemic that ruined me.
This is actually a secret kink podcast. Do you have a second beverage at the ready?
I have 3 beverages, thank you.
Oh my God!
Because I always have a jar of water next to me. Podcasting, let this be known for you out there that do not podcast. Podcast is a thirsty business.
It's a thirsty
business. So I always make sure
business.
I have this large, like, I look like, what's his face? That millionaire that used to pee in the jars.
Oh God!
Yeah.
The Aviator.
The Aviator. Just the Aviator.
The Aviator. Kate Blanchett episode. Go back to that episode for The Aviator. Yeah. I know where to go after the piss jar. But yes, welcome back to the show. It's been a little while. This is our first episode of the year that is not our wrap-up. Last episode, we did our wrap-up of last year. I feel like we're still in the shadow of last year. The Oscars feel like very late for some reason this year. I don't fucking know. They're like in a couple weeks, maybe. Whatever.
Just say the strike. It's just a good coverall. Babe, the strike.
The strike. Babe, watch out, the strike. But very excited for this episode. We don't have old business because there's no poll because we didn't ask you guys your favorite movie of last year. Hopefully you guys, watched some of the movies that we recommended. There was so much good stuff. A very queer year that we said, which we live, laugh, love.
Absolutely.
So, Gavin, without further ado, shall we get into this episode's subject?
Let's jump right in. Oh my God.
It's
Cheekbones first.
It's a very rare episode for us because, honeys, we're doing a straight white man. But when we brought I don't know who brought it up first, but we were like, this is a straight white man that we... Okay, fine, it was me.
Yeah,
okay,
I don't know who
Gavin,
who could possibly have brought this subject up first.
Gavin, I don't like your fucking tone, okay, bitch? I may be basic, but you are basic too, because when I brought him up, you were like, oh, yeah, absolutely.
I was like, absolutely. So.
Today we are discussing the James Marsden. I realized he is like the Boy Scout of acting.
Yes.
Just the ultimate Boy Scout. Silly Billy boy who happens to be gorgeous.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like seriously, it's unfair. Like, people shouldn't look like James Marsden looks.
Right. I didn't watch this movie, but I kind of wanted to, but I spent on time. The Best of Me, which is the Nicholas Sparks movie. And I watched the trailer though, and like, there's his counterpart in the movie, the girl. She's like, did you just get hotter as you got older? You couldn't have been bald and fat, like, and he's just like, LOL, yeah, I'm hot. Like he just is. He just is.
I seriously hope there's like a painting in his attic that's like aging for him or something.
Yeah,
like...
yeah. But also, I think, and this is maybe one of the reasons why we really wanted to do this, is like he's such a little weirdo, and his career is so weird, and he, you know, for as traditionally hot, all of that stuff, his career doesn't really reflect that narrative, you know, and I think it's like interesting. He's no Ryan Gosling. He hasn't had the Ryan Gosling's career. He does silly dumb movies, and I would argue he's better in those. And it's just it's interesting. How can a man with A-list looks not really have an A-list career? And I'm not denigrating him in his career, but it's just like, weird.
Well, he's listening. James, come out.
All the James Marsdenistas are going to come after me.
No, but I know what you're saying, because you know, midway through when we first started this and I started watching some of these movies, I was like, I kept getting, you know, Paul Rudd vibes, where I was like, oh, like he is beautiful and he's in all these things, but like, is any of it good? Is he just charming? And then midway through, it kind of switched for me, and I was like, oh, wait, like, he is good. And like, maybe the difference between him and Paul Rudd, sorry, Paul Rudd, and that episode was a year ago, so I don't mean to reference it, but like, he always shows up. Like, he's always, so no matter how bad the project, and let me tell you, some of these are really, I subjected myself to some really bad movies. So he's just such an interesting case, because I do think he is. I don't know if I've watched so many movies I didn't like for a subject and still thought our subject was good the entire time.
Absolutely. Like, there are, I kept thinking about, you know, we mentioned way early in this project, you mentioned how Anne Hathaway needs a better agent, and I was like, that is what's going on with James Marsden, because the roles he's taking...
Does he have an agent? That's what I kept thinking.
I don't know. Like,
is he just like saying yes to emails? Does he pick up every spam phone call? Like, what is...
Yeah, because it's kind of bizarre. Like, there are so many movies that are just like... I will say a lot of them are big swings. A lot of them like want to be smart. A lot of them want to be important. And it's almost like he is living the cliche mirror universe of like what Hollywood should be, you know? But every time he like pierces the veil and like is just, I mean, I think, and that's kind of why, you know, people really like him now, like with the jury duty of it all. Like he says this all the time. He's like, I've never been self-serious. I've never like take myself too seriously. And you can tell when he's like being silly. I think a lot of people know him from 30 Rock, where he's just like giving just golden retriever himbo energy.
Oh my
and it's
God.
like, and he is the perfect vehicle for that. Because he has done the rom-coms. He's done like the very hot, muscly stuff of it all. He's done the dramas. The musicals. Like, it's wild. This man has done it all. But I think you said it best. You know, for all those shitty, bad movies we watch, still like him a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it's so strange. And, you know, we talk a lot about character actors and also like an actor versus a movie star. And I think sort of I feel like his looks have maybe hindered him, because I think if he had his druthers, he would have like a Stanley Tucci career. And I think it took us a long time, and by us I just mean like collective, to realize Stanley Tucci was hot. And James Marsden has never had that issue.
Like, of course.
He's like that girl that shows up in the room and everybody's head turns and like, who's that? Like, what? So I think it's like harder for him to do. And at the same time, you know, it's not like, because we talked about it in our Chris Pine episode too, of like this sort of character actor in a leading man sort of look. But the difference is James Marsden never seems to take the role where he has to like dirty himself up. Like he's not doing the crazy things that Chris Pine is doing, like shaving his head and wearing a scar over his eye. Like he just always looks like James Marsden.
Yeah.
And so it's like such a weird dichotomy of like he just is leading man handsome and that you can't do anything about it.
He can't escape it. I mean, and like let's just be clear, very attractive, but I will say he did not go down like the Hugh Jackman route. He did not like get insanely buff for every role. He talks about like, yeah, okay, so like I had to be naked in death the funeral or whatever the fuck. And so I got really ripped for that because I wanted to like look good.
Right.
But like he's perhaps one of the most accessible leading men because for as handsome as he is, he's got that like young man face, very baby face, very just like kind of chill. He gives me a rare Pokemon straight friendly ally energy. All that being said, I'm very excited because we're gonna go some crazy places this episode, Gavin. I can already feel it. Even I was saying this off mic earlier to Gavin how I am now actually using my Letterboxd.
Cheers.
Thank you. Oh my! It's been years in the making. And I found myself writing some very like crazy things. I was like, wait. Is sex drive actually subversive? Which I don't know. It's just weird. So all that being said, Gavin, why don't we get into our rewind?
James Paul Marsden, born September 18th, 1973, making him a cool even 50 years old. He is
I'm 50.
Yeah, he likes to kick. And he likes to play the other guy in movies, and he likes to kick. He was born in Stillwater, Oklahoma. He's the son of Kathleen and James Luther Marsden. James Luther Marsden was a food safety advisor to Lexigene Industries. I don't really know what Lexigene Industries is. It sounds like a made-up evil corporation in a movie.
Absolutely. Resident Evil, here they come.
And his mother was a nutritionist, and they split when he was 9. He has 4 siblings, 2 younger sisters and 2 brothers. He eventually attended Oklahoma State University. Back when he was like, prior to that, he was doing a Good Morning Oklahoma TV show.
Incredible.
He was like a kid anchor, and he thought for a while like, oh, maybe this is a good career path for me. Like maybe I should be a TV news anchor.
I was a student news anchor on that show for a full year. Yeah, we would deliver 2 minutes of educational news at the end of the hour. And then one time I was able to get my if you can call it my band, on the show to perform a 4-part harmony thing. Yeah, it was something that I studied for a few semesters at Oklahoma State University. I was studying journalism broadcasting with the idea of maybe being a news anchor.
When he goes to Oklahoma State University, he goes for broadcast journalism, and he then decides to leave after about a year and a half. Because he's like, wait a second, broadcast journalism, like, I don't want to do that. Like, and he actually says he considered it like, maybe that'll be a backup plan, but I want to be an actor. And so he like moves to LA, just up and moves.
I saw that like he had a family friend or like an uncle in LA who basically was like, I will pay for your headshots and, you can stay with me and we can like give this a try. Which, is amazing, right? Like we've done a lot of episodes about people who go to LA just like raw dogging it, right? Like it either happens or it doesn't. Like you run out of money, you ask favors to like, where can I stay, where can I crap, whatever. And his family just must have been like, you have something, we're gonna go out on a limb for you here. And I just love that, because truly, even though we think like there is a lot that you have to do for yourself. Like no one does this on their own. Like this is it's such a hard thing to do at all. And like someone believed in him. Someone said, yeah, we're going to get you headshots. We're going to start sending you out. And he quickly gets booked because guess what? He did fucking have it.
So a lot of people ask if you were, if I was scared. It was a scary move to just uproot yourself from Oklahoma and move to California without really knowing anybody. And I say, no, it was the opposite. It was thrilling. It was exciting because I was doing what I wanted to be doing. I wasn't mature enough or old enough to know how badly I could fail. Going back to Oklahoma and finishing school just wasn't an option in my mind. I'm very grateful that the business and the fans have allowed me to play around a little bit, not just do one thing. I had an idea of what I wanted to do, and this being it. But there was a pragmatic side of my brain that was saying, this is not realistic. So I guess I felt like this has to happen. I have to make this happen somehow. So I think a good mix of luck and a good mix of sort of being at the right place at the right time and that desire to feel like this is really where you could fit in and where your talents lie.
And he gets booked on everything, starting at he's like 19 years old. He is in the pilot of The Nanny as the older daughter's boyfriend. He also does guest stints on Saved by the Bell and New Class and Party of Five. And he does an ABC TV show called Second Noah, which was about a group of adopted children who are adopted by a family who also has a lot of animals. Get it? Second Noah.
Oh, yeah. Very subtle. Very subtle. Yeah.
Like the Ark. The show doesn't last. I mean, I know many of you out there have heard of it, so I'm sure.
Right. They're very familiar, very popular. Second Noah.
Just because that doesn't work out doesn't mean that, his career stalls in any way, shape, or form. He's still going out on auditions. He auditions for Edward Norton's role in Primal Fear. He auditions for Ryan Felipe's role in 54.
Imagine if he was in 54. Oh my God.
I know.
Oh my God. He probably, Ryan was a little more dangerous, I would say. A little more edgy.
Yeah.
Because to be clear, the scenes of him, if you're rewatching The Nanny or clips of him on Saved by the Bell, he is literally just a little slice of Americana. He is the Boy Scout from Oklahoma who's
I was going to say he's so Oklahoma. He's just
perfect little hair. Goody boy is the vibe.
But off of Second Noah, he does get cast in a film called Disturbing Behavior, which is a huge early breakout for him. There's a couple stuff that he does, a couple things he does before then. He does some TV movies. He is a working actor. You know, he does Blossom, Touched by an Angel, some show called Boogie's Diner.
He's in everything. He's just it's casting call of we need the hot straight everyman, and boom, there he is.
Absolutely. But Disturbing Behavior becomes this sort of big break for him. Disturbing Behavior, if you have not seen it, is a kind of riff on the Stepford Wives. It's young. He's a teen whose family moves into town after his older brother has committed suicide. And turns out that the town doctor is brainwashing kids and make them into perfect teens. But every now and then they short circuit and they kill. And
Katie Holmes is there.
Katie Holmes, she's there. She's certainly there. And Nick Stahl is there acting.
Yes.
Bruce Greenwood is there acting. Katie Holmes is there participating.
She said, "I'm on Dawson's Creek. I would like a movie, please."
Exactly. I want to get this out of the way. Disturbing Behavior, not a good movie. No. I have a really special soft spot for it. This is one of the few Gavin's origin stories that I don't talk about that much. My first couple paychecks when I first got a job when I was 14 was to pay. I was a paper boy for 2 years before then, but I used my first 2 paychecks to buy a DVD player, and I was like, I'm gonna buy all these DVDs. I really want to. And I remember buying Disturbing Behavior. And there's a director's commentary on it. And the director, David Nutter, starts the commentary. First of all, if you remove a director from a film studio, don't let them do a commentary.
That's cool. I can't believe that you said that he has the commentary. Because famously, big battle over this movie.
Yeah. And so he basically starts the commentary with, "Welcome to my butchered film, the film they took away from me." He's like, the studio decided that teens didn't want to see adults talk, so they took the plot out of the film. And he's like, there's deleted scenes on this DVD if you want to see the plot of the movie, but this film does not represent my vision.
Jesus.
And so I did watch the deleted scenes, and listen, I think it was the first time my brain, I'm an editor by trade, for those of you who are listening for the first time. I think it's the first time that my brain realized, like, oh, like, movies can absolutely be ruined in edit. And like, I know that's such a simple thought process, but I think people don't think about the construction of films when they're watching them. And you can, when you watch Discerning Behavior, you can tell that it's been butchered.
Yeah.
Like, there's lots missing.
The ending also is like such a donkey tail tacked on for no reason. You can tell, I mean, like, there is a smart movie in here, but what they have presented to us is not it.
Right. And so what they teach you as editors, I think, like, very early on, is they kind of teach you, like, a movie can certainly be made in edit, and a movie can certainly be found in edit. But those aren't always the case. And those are kind of rare, but a movie can almost always be ruined in the edit process. And I really credit this movie with being why I'm interested in editing, why I got into editing. And so I think about Disturbed Behavior probably a lot more than most other people. But once again, do not think it's a good movie. I just have a soft spot for it.
I will say, after watching it, I kept thinking about, like, when was this? This was 1998, very late 90s, right before 9/11.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, like, this movie probably wouldn't have been made after 9/11 because it is...
I'm shocked that it was made post-Columbine.
Yeah, because, I mean, the whole vibe is that kids are bad, and we need to protect them and make sure they are on the course. And there's the whole, like, you see, basically they, like, put these little fucking, they open their eyes and, like, show them a bunch of shit, right? To brainwash them.
But also, like, put in, like, I've tried to figure this out. Like,
there's
how
something
it works,
but the imagery that they show them is very, like, Christian nationalist shit.
Yes.
Like, it's very patriotic. It's very, and I just kept thinking, like, in 5 years, like, this is the whole American vibe, and this movie is critiquing about, like, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, dissent. And I was like, so even though it's not a good movie, like, there is this nugget of, like, fight the power, like, anarchy, so, like, it is a very interesting time capsule of precise pre 9/11 vibes,
right?
I guess.
And I will say, he gets a couple good scenes to, like, prove himself. But I think the best scene, and he's great in it, is when he tells Katie Holmes about his brother's suicide.
I had a brother.
Sorry.
His name was Alan. He was a couple years older than me. If he would have made it through his teens, he would have been something amazing. But he was always in pain. In 8 months to the day he shot himself, Dad said we were moving to Cradle Bay. Where everything was gonna be all right.
Sorry.
No, don't.
He's not perfect, but he is, like, acting in a way that, like, I was like, oh, he's good. Like, so
it's an interesting curio if you've got time.
He has 2 movies come out in the year 2000: Gossip and X-Men.
I had never heard of Gossip in my life. I watched it and I was like, again, the time of pre 9/11 of, like, the internet's so crazy, and, like, the way people don't understand how news works. It's like people sometimes think, like, an event happened. It's like, yeah, you didn't hear news. It's like, that's not news. Doesn't just, like, come out from the ephemera, like,
yeah, absolutely.
But, like,
it's so funny. I'm glad you started with Gossip, because I feel like we probably have more to talk about in X-Men. But Gossip is so, like, what is the tone of Gossip?
No. Gossip is, like, I'm sure, first of all, crazy cast. They had all the hot teen girlies ready to go. Kate Hudson.
Kate Hudson, yes, but then the other ones are like not who I feel like are not who you would think of, because
Lena
it's like
Headey.
Yeah, Lena Headey, Norman Reedus,
Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
and then Joshua Jackson. Of course, I mean, give it up for Pacey.
Yeah, it's a very kind of like, yeah, we're actually a smart movie. Gotcha, gal. I will say, the twist is very obvious. Like, I was like, you're not fooling anyone, honey.
Yeah, except the twist is obvious. The execution of the twist is wild. Is like, suddenly we're in David Fincher's The Game. Like,
you ever convince your professor to like pull a whole fucking stunt on someone about murdering someone for funsies? Because like, what do you think about news and media and gossip?
Not to get too deep in trigger warning sexual assault, like the crux of this movie is rape.
Yep.
And it seems that like the film's kind of firmly on the side of like, there's a lot of fake rapes out there. Yeah. And it's like, wait, what? Like, what? Like, because I don't know. It's not good. It's such a wild take, because it's literally like, it's one of those movies that's like, all it takes is one false accusation and you could just ruin someone's life.
No, but like the whole crux is like, because he says something to the effect in this like classroom, like, it's just words. Words can't hurt anybody. Right. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, at the end, it's like, actually, words do matter. Like, oh, wow, we learned a lot. Like, that's gossip. Okay, we need to move on from gossip.
We do need to move away from gossip. But shout out to our friend Kevin, because he, like, literally figured it out just by our letterboxes and was like, could you please do a full half an hour on gossip on so like,
honestly, we could we really could
sign up for that Patreon full episode about gossip.
We do have to thank Gossip though for X-Men, because James Marsden says the like costume designer is the one who is like, oh, I'm working on this like X-Men thing, and he's like, what's that? Because obviously James Marsden's too hot to know about nerdy shit like comic books. And
which I call shade on, because he's a huge video game guy, and he's admitted this in like several interviews. Like, he said on the set of X-Men, like in between takes, like when he wasn't needed.
I remember playing GoldenEye on Nintendo 64 with Kevin Feige, who now owns the Marvel universe. Like, on the first X-Men movie, we'd sneak away for hours and hours and play that game.
Incredible.
So, yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like,
are you a liar, Dina?
Yeah, are you know about X-Men? Like,
I saw an interview where he was like, I called up my buddies in Oklahoma who told me what comic books to read, and that he was nervous going in for the audition because Cyclops in the comics is like 6'5" and like jacked, and he was like, I was not any of those things. But oh my god, the absolute jump scare. He says that Jim Caviezel was originally cast as Cyclops.
Mm-hmm. That could have been a very different movie. Jim Caviezel, Dougray Scott as Wolverine, like,
absolutely not.
Yeah, and honestly, they were smart casting so young for Cyclops, even though in the comics he's probably older because he's one of the original X-Men.
Yeah,
but because he's so young, like, he could easily pick it up now if he wanted to. Yeah. I'm not saying anything, Marvel. I'm just saying, like, you'd be a fucking fool if you didn't cast him as Cyclops again. But
what do you think of the casting of him as Cyclops? We've talked about X-Men in Halle Berry's episode.
Yes.
This is our second time around with X-Men.
I kind of think that James Marsden's like perfect Cyclops, because like you said before, he's sort of Hollywood Boy Scout, and that's literally what Cyclops' role in the X-Men is. He's a leader, he's a decision maker, he's kind of a wet blanket. Like, he's not exactly the most fun out of the group, but he has like a really soft core, like a really like, he like loves Jean Grey, he's like really committed to the cause, and I think James Marsden's able to portray all that. And also, he has a really difficult job of having to do all of that without having access to his eyes.
Yeah.
Which like, James Marsden has stunning baby blues. They're, gorgeous to look at. And he has to do all of this sort of emoting a lot through like eyebrow work, through like pouty mouth and like
I will say like his cheekbones are just so fucking incredible.
Oh my god, cut glass, cut diamond.
Yeah, and so the visual is immaculate. Like I don't think anyone would argue that he is not Scott Summers. Like it is just perfect. I will say, everyone has different opinions about the X-Men movies, and like they certainly like X2 was amazing, X3 is horrendous, but
Agreed.
he does have like that really amazing scene. It's like, how do we know it's you? And like Wolverine gives him the finger. Like he's like, okay, yeah, that's it. Like
he's like, you're a dick, and he's like, I think that chemistry comes through with, and it. Listen, we mentioned it on a Halle Berry episode. Those X-Men movies are really Wolverine and the X-Men. If you're not Wolverine, you're Rogue, and if you're not Rogue, you're everybody else.
Yeah,
and
he said that. He said like this was the Hugh Jackman show, and we were just along for the ride.
And I mean, even I feel like we should just so we don't really have to come back to X-Men later on. I feel like we should lump X2 in here, which is 2003. I think nothing could be more clear about that than the fact that like them not knowing what to do with Cyclops, they just make him a mindless villain for most of X2, which is really unfortunate. But it does give us that really great moment with him and Jean after he like comes to and he like cradles her and she's like, something's wrong. That's my Famke Janssen, by the way.
I'm so sorry I could see you, but I couldn't stop myself. I tried. I'm sorry so much. I love you.
Controversially, I think you could recast Wolverine at this point. I think enough time has passed. I feel like because he's not been given his shot, because he's not been given his, bright day in the sun when it comes to Cyclops, I think it'd be a shame to cast somebody else's Cyclops.
Yeah, and in X3, I will say he has like very little to do, but like there's that great scene where he like shoots, like in anguish, shoots the lake, and then Jean comes and you actually get to see his eyes.
Yes.
It is a great moment. It's a great moment, and he's doing well.
And the reason for that was that he left with Bryan Singer to go do Superman Returns, which is so funny because he's also given so little to do in Superman Returns. 2001, he does a cameo in Zoolander as John Wilkes Booth. It's hilarious. But he also does Sugar and Spice. Sugar and Spice was a script that had been floating around Hollywood. In fact, I believe it was Gabrielle Union who said Sugar and Bring It On was the script you got if you didn't get cast in the movie you wanted, which was Sugar and Spice.
Oh, wow.
Sugar and Spice was also like, it was called Sugar and Spice and Semi-Automatics. It gets like so whittled down. And I don't know if you clocked the runtime of Sugar and Spice, by the way. It's literally like 72 minutes with 8 minutes worth of credits to get it to 80 minutes. It's so short. Like everything has been gutted from that movie.
Yeah.
He plays an all-American football star who knocks up one of the cheerleaders.
The way he grabs that child and says, "I'm a little professor." That is a core memory. That will always stay with me. Love it. Love that movie, even for being like cutted and gutted, like camp mama.
Not my favorite, but he's very good. Like he's very big dumb idiot in that.
Yeah, which is informative of what's to come, because he is so good in that space.
Hey, Di, if we have a girl, we should dress her like Little Debbie.
Jack, honey, I'm only eating for 2.
No, I know, but all this food reminds me of how much I want to teach our baby. Cocoa Puff's good, Captain Crunch is bad. See, it shreds the roof of your mouth. Now, you're not born with that knowledge. You hear tricks are for kids, and you think, okay, I'm a kid, so I guess they're for me. But, your little baby brain's got no idea that Lucky Charms are like 1,000,000 times better for you.
Jack?
Hey, pop quiz. If you could be Count Chocula or Trix the Rabbit, who would you be?
Trix.
Me too! God, will it never end? I love this lady!
I do want to talk about 2002's Interstate 60 episodes of The Road, because I did see that you saw it on Letterboxd. Interstate 60 is the directorial debut of Bob Gale, producer and co-writer of Back to the Future and all of its subsequent sequels. And it's the only movie he's ever directed. It's clearly a passion project. He wrote it. He basically called in every favor he possibly could, which is why you get Christopher Lloyd in the movie and Michael J. Fox in the movie. But it's essentially about Gary Oldman as a magical leprechaun type character who grants wishes to people, and James Marsden, who's like a guy who doesn't really know what he's doing with his life, and he just sort of, what is his wish exactly? It's like, I wish for like a new life or a better, like a more adventurous life. And
yeah, for adventure or something.
Yeah, and it's essentially from there, it's sort of like an anthology film. It's like him driving the road and running into people. Like he runs into Power Rangers Amy Jo Johnson, which I gasped when I saw her. I was like, oh, Pink Ranger.
Yeah.
And she's like, I want to fuck. And it's a completely sexist scene and just
horrible.
Really awful. I don't know. Like he's
also
really
chasing Amy Smart. That's and he thinks that she's like the one because he keeps getting signs. So I don't know enough about this filmmaker, but it was just so clear. Like he was grafting himself. Like this was his movie about himself. This is a movie about a guy who is an artist, because the whole thing is that he wants to be a painter, but he's disappointed in the family, and it is just about this guy who is boring and, you know, wants to be an artist, but is afraid of like making his dad sad. And I was like, okay, like you could have spent the like $15 million you made this movie like for anything else, because the payoff is just nothing.
Right.
It's this movie thinks it's smart. It's deeply embarrassing. It's deeply boring. It is just a nothing burger. And like, oh God, and yeah, like you said, sexist, and it's.
Is there a single black person in that movie? Is there a single person of color besides? I can't name one.
I can't think of one.
Huh.
It's
and I'm not saying there has to be a quota system, but like he's literally driving across the United States.
It's just like, again, this man who was successful at this other thing was like, I have a story to tell, and it's my story. And it's such a limited, like blinders on, like his world is so small. It's so clear that his world is so small. But he thinks everyone like will be so interested in it. And it's like, my God, the hubris of straight white men, uncanny. Marsden found not guilty, but like,
yes,
God.
Exactly. He's very charming when he's on screen, but it's not worth it.
I'm not doing it, period.
So you're not man enough? You meet a real woman and you turn into a wuss? Afraid you won't measure up, huh?
Well, you'll never know, will you? Because if I don't do it, I won't be number 2,000 and whatever. I'll be number one. That one guy, the guy you'll remember for the rest of your life. You'll stay up at night thinking about me, wondering, was he the one? The answer's yes. I am the perfect fucker. The one you never had.
2003, aforementioned X2. 2004, we get The 24th Day, which is a Canadian film. I didn't have a chance to watch this.
Oh my God, Gavin!
Really? Okay.
I wish you, because there is some discourse here, babe, is what I say.
Oh no! I mean, it's got Scott Speedman in it, Felicity's own.
I know. I didn't realize it was Canadian, but that's interesting.
You didn't know that it was Canadian with Scott Speedman, Captain Canada himself?
That's true. He should play Guardian.
Oh my God. If they made an Alpha Flight movie, I would literally piss my pants.
I do have to say, 24th Day is available for free on one of the random obscure streaming sites. If you just type in the 24th Day on your Roku TV, it'll come up. I need people to watch this because I don't know if this movie is good or not. It's confounding. It is based on a play. The movie was made by the playwright. So he's like, I'm going to write the movie. I'm going to direct the movie. It is about two men. Opens with James Marsden and his best girlfriend, Sofia Vergara, at a bar. I know.
Sofia Vergara.
And Scott Speedman walks in and basically picks up James Marsden. They go back to Scott's place. They're flirty. They're like, they're gay. They're gay. And
if I knew it was gay, I would have prioritized it. You know this.
I know. But something isn't right, because Scott Speedman keeps asking him questions of like, how many times have you had sex with men? Do you always use protection? James Marsden realizes, I've been in this apartment before. And basically Scott Speedman beats him up and ties him to a chair and is like, I've only had sex with one person, and it was you, and I have HIV. So what the fuck's up?
Oh my God.
And I need to discourse about this movie because so this was made in 2004. I'm assuming the play was written in the 90s because it's giving very heavy 90s vibes. There is a lot of progressive stuff in this movie, but there's also a lot of not progressive things in this movie. There's a lot of stuff about HIV and AIDS in here. There's a lot of shame about, you know, being sexually active. Bottom line, I think it's a very interesting movie. I think it's like brings up a lot of discourse around sex and shame and, you know, obviously HIV. But I was like, God, watching this now, I watched it today. I was like, watching this now, it's very interesting. Again, there are some like regressive things, but also like there's a part where Scott Speedman's like, I'm not gay. Just because you have sex with a man one time doesn't make you gay. And James Marsden is like, you're right. He's like, labels are stupid. He's like, you know, if you're not gay, you're not gay. Guys should be able to have sex with men and like, it's not gay. And I was like, that's a very progressive thing to be saying in 2004.
Especially for 20 years ago. Yeah.
Interesting movie, but also just like not the movie of 2004. Like the movie of 2004 for James Marsden.
Yeah.
Is The Notebook.
It's The Notebook. Yeah. It's funny, you know, we talked extensively about The Notebook in our Ryan Gosling episode. We'll probably, if we ever get around to doing a Rich McAdams episode, we'll probably talk extensively about that. I think the most interesting thing about The Notebook when it comes to James Marsden is he's playing the other guy, and the other guy doesn't really suck that much.
Yep.
Like, he could be worse.
Yeah.
Like, he's not like
abusing her. He's not like an asshole.
And in the end, he's kind of like, if you really love this guy and you don't love me, like, bye. Like,
and it's the Cyclops of it all. He's always the other guy.
He's the other guy. He's and you know, I like his performance a lot in The Notebook. I don't love the movie. I do want to say, James Marsden says he gets more men that come up to him and tell him, you know, hey, you're in my favorite movie. And he's like, oh yeah, X-Men. And they're like, no, The Notebook. And
that's wild.
You'd be surprised how many like men come up to me and go, hey, you were my favorite movie of all time. I think, oh, they're going to say X-Men or something like that. They're like, Notebook. And I'm like,
to this day, people come up to me. And sometimes just very macho men. You know, like, oh, mate, you're my favorite movie I've ever seen before. Well, yeah, X-Men. No, Notebook, mate. Notebook, mate. I love it. I cry my eyes out every time.
It's also what got him cast in Hairspray. So he was like he like was with Adam Shankman and the producers at an empty restaurant. And like during this meeting, and a person walked over to him and tapped him on the shoulder, and they all looked, and it was fucking Julia Roberts.
Incredible.
And Julia Roberts just goes, I don't mean to interrupt, but you're in my favorite movie, The Notebook.
There is something about like the reason why James Marsden is that he was blowing up in all these millennial touchstone films. X-Men, The Notebook, 27 Dresses. These are all just like very classic movies for our generation.
Yeah.
Whether they're good or bad, they were just the things that like we remember. We know The Notebook is just like aggressively romantic. It like built the stage for all of us into believing what like true love should look like and feel like. And even though he's not like the main guy, you know, it does say a lot that like he could be this other guy and not like, we don't hate this guy.
No.
You know.
I need to get away.
Okay.
I need to take care of a few things. I need to clear my head.
Okay, should I be worried?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's reassuring. Listen, are you all right?
Yeah.
Okay, then go. Take your time, do whatever you need to do. Look, it's okay to be nervous, right? It's normal to get cold feet before your wedding.
No second thoughts, no.
2006, we get 4 movies. We get the Lies and Alibis, which is also known as The Alibi, Superman Returns, 10th and Wolf, and X-Men The Last Stand. We already kind of touched on X-Men The Last Stand. Superman Returns, I just do what I meant. Like, he's Richard White. He's Perry White's, is he his son or his nephew? It's been a bit since I've watched Superman Returns.
I can't remember.
Yeah, but he's currently with
with Lois.
Lane.
Yeah.
And it's once again the situation where he's the other guy.
Yep.
Superman comes back and he's being all kind of emo and a little stalkery.
Yeah.
And Richard White is kind of like, well, I guess you're in love with the invincible space alien.
Yeah, okay.
But I like his performance in that movie. It kind of works because he's believable as the guy that Lois Lane would fall in love with if she didn't have Superman.
But that's the thing, though. Like, he plays the generic, like, everyone. There is
Right.
no, like, edge to him. And not that I'm saying, like, Brendan Ruth has, like, edge. But, like,
No, but-
it's Superman. Like, that's the edge. Like, and
exactly.
And, you know, he's not, like, the beardy, scraggly scamp that Ryan Gosling is in The Notebook. He's, like, the every guy that, like, you should love.
Yeah. He's
And-
put together.
Yeah.
Lies and Alibis is a movie about people that create alibis for you if you're having an affair, starring Steve Coogan and Rebecca Romijn. I don't know if you saw Lies and Alibis.
No.
10th and Wolf is a mob movie. He plays a guy who gets back from the Gulf War and is gets drawn back into his mob family by his brother Giovanni Ribisi, but also he's secretly an FBI informant, and he's gonna.
I was like James Marsden playing like an Italian mobster. Okay, LOL.
And okay, we also, just to get to the Italian of it all, there's the scene literally where they're having dinner and there is a clown opera singer doing Pagliacci, and I was like, I get it, they're Italian. Like,
They're very Italian.
You could have had them eating pasta or something. Like, this is a bit much.
It's very much, the vibe is supposed to be like, these are the real Italians and these are the Italian Americans who don't appreciate clown singing at dinner.
Not a good movie.
I will say Piper Perabo, very good in this movie.
Yeah, and she's a little underrated. I will say
She is.
Well, if we're saying nice things about actors that we think are underrated, Lies and Alibis, I think Rebecca Romijn has always been a good actor, and we've treated her poorly because she's beautiful.
Say that. Say that. These beautiful women deserve more. Piper and Rebecca, we salute you. We see you.
Absolutely. The next year, 2007, is a banger when it comes to musicals.
This feels like his pinnacle imperial phase. Like, all the checks and things that are coming in from X-Men are paying off that he can do other things.
So he does Prince Edward in Enchanted, and he does Corny Collins in Hairspray.
Gorgeous.
Both singing, dancing roles.
Gorgeous.
Prince Edward gets to be a little more swashbuckly. Corny Collins gets to be a little more self-righteous, and in all the best ways. And yeah, these are, they're very character roles.
Yeah.
Like they're not leads. Well, I mean, Prince Edward, once again, is the other guy.
Yes.
But it's funny because, like, in any other version of this fairy tale, he wouldn't be the other guy. That's the joke.
Right.
Enchanted, for those who don't know, is a movie about a princess, Giselle, who gets sent into the real world, and she gets to experience New York, and Prince Edward goes after her to try and save her, but it's too late because she's already fallen in love with McDreamy.
Yep.
And and Hairspray, we've talked extensively about between our John Waters episode, our Queen Latifah episode. I feel like there's another one in there that we also maybe hit on, maybe not. But his performance of Corny Collins is so sharp. Yeah,
Yep.
Perfection. So sharp, so precise. There's that great, like, tete-a-tete he has with Michelle Pfeiffer, where he's just basically like, fuck off, you racist witch. Oh, Michelle Pfeiffer. We talked about a little bit in our Michelle Pfeiffer episode. I really like both these performances. They're heightened, but they're heightened in both the right ways.
Yeah, he's deployed perfectly because we're using his golden retriever himbo vibes.
Yes.
But turning it on its head because both characters have more, and he's just going full tilt on both of them. I think it's also interesting with Hairspray because I think Zac Efron is a very interesting analog to him because Zac Efron has had kind of a similar career path in that he has a very weird filmography, like, has been desperately trying to find like the dramatic thing that will like make him be serious. And I feel like, James has kind of had some of that with these like gossip and like Interstate 60, like trying to find the thing, but like is actually just a lot better when he's just being a silly Billy, funny guy, which I think Zac Efron is in the same lane. Like when he's just being a dumbass, like it works. A dumbass or like is showing us why he's like has star power. And that's because he's a singing dance man. Like he's a showman.
I do. Yeah, he's truly a showman. I wish he could have capitalized on that more. And I know like as an actor, you know, the goal is to be well-rounded. Like you don't really want to get pigeonholed into anything, but you know, I wish there was slightly more of that in his career. And there was a song between him and Idina Menzel that was cut from Enchanted, and I wonder if like maybe that because he doesn't really get to show off those chops until the second one, which I just watched today. We'll get to it. But I do like those feel like you said, it's like the pinnacle, and they should have launched, and like it just doesn't. I mean,
it kind of falls off.
Yeah, the next year, 2008, you get 27 Dresses and Sex Drive, both comedies. Sex Drive, much raunchier comedy, teen sex comedy. And 27 Dresses, romantic comedy with Katherine Heigl. I don't have a ton to say about either of these other than like his, if you've seen Jury Duty, Sex Drive gets brought up a lot. And he just plays kind of a homophobic brother. And, you know, the like twist, spoiler alert, at the end is that like
he's actually gay.
Yeah, he's gay. And like listen, I just want to say, like, it's such a trope that the homophobe turns out to be gay. As a queer person, we don't want him. You can don't like.
I will say so. 27 Dresses feels like the tail end of like the Pinnacle era because people fucking love that movie. It's very, you know, he says that's one of the movies that like he gets constantly like people remember him for. Yeah, it's a very nothing role kind of. He's just like rom-com lead with no personality. I do think Katherine Heigl is very good. I think obviously James Marsden is charming. We've got a lot of girlies who are surrounding them who are also very good.
Malin Ackerman, who's going to be hosting Eurovision this year.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I am not.
Speaking of beautiful women who deserve more.
Yes, I love Malin Ackerman.
She's so good. All I have to say, this is kind of like the tail end of his Imperial phase. What's the other movie that year? Oh, Sex Drive.
Sex Drive, yeah.
Which I also was just like, these movies where it's like virgin tries to get laid, that's the genre of movie that was popular at the time.
But it wasn't. That's the thing. Like, this is the tail end of that.
Right.
Like, American Pie hadn't been popular for a while when this movie came out.
But it's the movie I had forgotten a lot about this movie. The best friend who is the guy who's kind of like a scumbag, like I was like, oh, he's kind of like a schlubby nerd guy, but like the whole film is about how he gets laid all the time.
Right.
And I was like, this is subverting this genre in a way, even though it is completely homophobic.
Yes.
And there's a lot of like,
there's a lot of gay panic in a lot of these movies. I was a little shocked at how easily the like F slur was thrown around in Sugar and Spice and whatnot. And like,
I don't know what has happened to me. I don't know if like the serpent has come back around where I'm like, actually, Sex Drive. But
I you know what? Listen, for all I'm denigrating it, I like Sex Drive a lot more than I'm letting on. I've seen Sex Drive more than I think I should admit. Too.
Yeah.
Like I do think it is a funny movie and there's stuff I really like in it. And also I think at the time the idea of James Marsden being gay was like really hot to me. So like
100%. Also, it's worth mentioning he goes for broke in this.
Yes.
He is crazy town. The way he beats up that garage door is fucking nuts. It is unfortunately a lot of fun. And guess what? Fall Out Boy has a cameo. So like they got me, gal.
I was gonna say the soundtrack is definitely very Louis.
Drag me.
There's a like unrated cut. And what's really funny is the director has like a thing where he like comes out at the beginning is like, don't watch this version of the movie if you've not seen the original movie, because it's not really a movie. And it has like, it doesn't just have extended takes in it. It has like multiple takes of the same thing, like characters cracking each other up and everything. And it's another thing where like I watched it even though I was already an editor when this came out, and was like realizing like, oh, this is really funny because this is a peek behind the curtain to like see like how movies are made and like how painful it can sometimes be. You can have 20 great jokes, and you just got to pick the one that like serves the best interest of the film.
Hey, what do you like better, the shaft or the balls?
It's gross.
You like them both, don't you? It's like sometimes like Tuesdays you want the big old fucking shiny ass cock, and Wednesdays and Thursdays you're onto the balls.
I don't know why you're talking about it.
You can't choose, can you? That's a tough one. You love it. You're obsessed with it.
No, you are. You keep talking about it.
Why are you smiling at me? I'm serious. Fucking smile at me. I'll knock you out of this goddamn earth.
Interesting. Sex Drive. You know what? Revisit it.
Yeah.
Or don't. We're not your masters. 2009, The Box. Boo.
Boo. We talked about this.
Yeah. Just go listen to our Cameron Diaz episode. You'll be fine. 2010, Death at a Funeral, the American remake of the British film because Americans can't stand a foreign language.
British.
Yeah, I was going to say, please laugh at that joke, Louis. That's
We talked about this.
Yeah, he's playing the role. We talked about this in a Chris Rock episode. He's playing the role Alan Tudyk plays. It's another like go for broke performance. I think Alan Tudyk is like maybe slightly better in the British version, but I love that James Marsden's like not afraid to do this.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Directed by Neil LeBlou. Like, I feel like this movie had a lot of like cultural cachet.
Yeah.
I don't think it made any impact.
No.
Like, at all. I mean, it is essentially a black remake.
Yes.
And he is the one white person. And it's just, I often think about this. Like, it's like, unfortunately, like comedies that come from like the UK, it's just like, you can't improve. Like, it cannot be done. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and Neil LeBute is not the director that Frank Oz is, and Frank Oz directed the original, which is so funny. Not even a British director. I don't know. I don't really I don't
get it.
2011, he does like a little tip spot on Modern Family, and he also does the movie Hop and Straw Dogs. Hop
Can we just say, it feels like he is searching.
Yes.
He is lost right now.
Yes.
Like, X-Men is over. The singing and dancing is over. What the fuck is going on? Because we've got Hop and The Box and Straw Dogs.
Yeah.
I watched Straw Dogs today and I was like, very hot. He looks very hot in Straw Dogs.
I don't want to belabor Straw Dogs too much because the original Straw Dogs from the 70s is very controversial as it is. I don't really understand the point of remaking it. I think there's a couple like minor tweaks, which is the original Straw Dogs takes place in England. And so Dustin Hoffman is the sort of outsider because he's American and it's like this rural England versus in the new one, it's the South. And in the original, Dustin Hoffman's like a mathematician. And in this, he's like a screenwriter and he's like researching Nazi history and whatnot, which I think is supposed to like add to the idea of that when shit goes down, like how awful human nature is. I think the biggest alteration between the original and this, besides the fact that like, I think the once again, trigger warning, sexual assault, the sexual violence that occurs in the original is much more, ambiguous and controversial, and it's like much more clear in this. But I think the concept is in the original, it's the idea that like all men are programmed to be awful beasts and all women are sort of programmed for sex in a way. And in the remake, the idea is sort of like that it's more about society and like what's you're taught and like how you're like warped into believing certain things and whatnot. I was telling Dan about this. Dan has never seen either of them. And Dan said maybe the most astute thing, which for a movie he's never seen, which is like, I've always assumed Straw Dogs is a movie with no ideas. It sounds like the remake is a movie with one extra idea, and that still doesn't make any reason to make it.
Woo!
And I was like, yeah. I was like, that's what it felt like. I was like, okay.
I think, like, I haven't seen the original, but I saw this one, and it's weirdly, like, very regressive, and that, like, Kate Bosworth is the woman, and she keeps telling James Marsden, like, if you would just do something.
Right.
You why aren't you doing anything? And if you would just do something.
The original's very like that.
And it's like, this woman is standing around, like, being, you know, tortured and, like, harassed and assaulted, and, like, wants her husband to do something about it.
Right.
It's weird. It's a very, very hard pill to swallow. God, what the fuck is the other guy who's so hot?
Oh, True Blood.
Yeah.
Eric Northman.
Yeah.
Why do I know his fake name? Skarsgård. Alexander Skarsgård. Thank you.
My God. Just doing a Southern accent, I believe it. Well, because he knows it from True Blood. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I thought everybody was fine. I mean, I don't ever want to have to sit through James Woods ever again, but
oh my God, when they threw that fucking hot O in his face, I was like, get that bitch. Get her ass.
2012 Bachelorette, Robot and Frank, Small Apartments, all indie films. So you're right. It's like he's decided, like, okay, let's go the indie route for a moment. Let's try and see if there's anything there. And yeah, I didn't get to see Robot and Frank is like the one out of those three I haven't seen. I've not seen Bachelorette in years. I should rewatch it.
Throwback to our first episode.
Right. Kirsten Dunst. I know you're a big fan. I didn't watch it because I know he's a love interest, and I feel like it would be sort of a disservice to any of the women that are in that movie if I watched it for James Marsden. I know that sounds weird, but like...
No, yeah, I rewatched it like randomly. I wasn't planning on it, but I was like, wait, I know I love this movie. Why not? He's playing an asshole, and it's fun. It's very fun. It's very fun that he gets to play against type and just be a dick when it's great.
I also wonder if around this time he was doing these smaller movies because he was also doing his larger guest starring work on 30 Rock. Because 2012, 2013 is when he is such a large part of those guest starring bits because he is playing not just Liz Lemon's love interest, but her eventual husband.
Right.
And so, like, I'm sure though that also, like, a TV schedule is pretty grueling.
His name is Chris Cross, LOL.
Yes. Oh my God, this scene with he basically becomes a housewife, but the scene where he's like trying to put together the apartment and he's like, you look like you're in a gay porn, and she's like, you should talk.
Wow, look at you, all sweaty with your tool belt and your 90s haircut. You look like you're in a gay porno.
Oh, yeah? You're one to talk, buddy.
I'm Brent. I'm the new guy on the crew.
I'm Rod. I'm the boss. And what I say goes. I've never been with a man before.
Looks like I'm the boss now, Rod.
Oh, what are you doing?
I don't know. Whatever, let's wrestle. It doesn't matter.
I also think about that all the time. What does that say about me? 2013, Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues, As Cool as I Am, The Butler, Two Guns, and the English dub of The Tale of Princess Kaguya. I saw a bit of an interview with him where he couldn't even pronounce Princess Kaguya, and I was like, no, James.
Sweet
thing.
You
sweet Oklahoma boy. I have not seen Anchorman 2. I know he plays like a threatening other anchor. I'm sure he's fine in it. I'm sure he's fun. You know, that's like, the one crossover with Paul Rudd.
Yeah, and he's like tapping into his old broadcast journalism.
Yeah, exactly. I saw The Butler and Two Guns in the theater with my mom. I know it was a vacation.
Okay.
It was a rainy day. We didn't have anything else to do. Two Guns I did not rewatch. He only plays John F. Kennedy in The Butler. So I feel like the one that maybe you might want to talk about is As Cool as I Am, because I know you saw it, which is an indie film where he plays he's the husband to Claire Danes, and they have a 14-year-old daughter played convincingly by a 24-year-old. And he's like I couldn't remember, does he work as a like logger or an oil man? Like he goes away for large amounts of time for his job to like get away from his life essentially. And
he's
so it's
an
sort of
absentee father.
Yeah.
The whole vibe is that like Claire Danes has to lie to him.
Yes. Oh, well, yeah, you're right.
To work because he doesn't want her to work because women,
which is wild.
Like, I also have to say, like, Claire Danes has never been worse. This is a horrible movie. It's so boring.
And I think everybody was directed really badly as well, too. Like, and it looks like a TV movie. Like, it never escapes TV movie look, which I think is, when you have a cast of that caliber, it's like,
yeah, I mean, it's really wild, and I didn't know that it was based on a novel, but like as I was watching this, I was like, this is a YA novel.
Yeah,
this is a YA novel.
It's very that.
And I love me some YA, like, but this is just bottom of the barrel dredges. Ugh.
So you loved it. Yeah. 2014, another big working year for him, and I think this is maybe we're now seeing the after effects of getting off of 30 Rock.
Yeah.
So he does The Best of Me, The Loft, Walk of Shame, Welcome to Me, and like cameos in the next X-Men movie. Best of Me is the Nicholas Sparks movie you didn't see. I don't want to talk about it that much, but I want to say like it's hilarious because this movie is literally just the Notebook. Like he finally got to play Ryan Gosling in The Notebook, except instead of dementia, it's crime. He proves that he could have played the Ryan Gosling role.
Right. Oh, I did see he has like the stubble, and I was like,
yes.
all right, bitch. Fuck
yeah.
Like, my God.
The Loft is a
crazy town movie.
It's the second remake of I believe a Belgian film. Also the second remake that the same director has made, because he made the original Belgian film and then it was remade in another country and that director got sick and he took over for her and then they remade it in the US. It's awful. Also, it's rare that an erotic thriller forgets to be both erotic and thrilling. I didn't like it and I felt so bad because Eric Stonestreet from Modern Family was in it.
Jump scare.
Maybe
look at those tits. I was like, what is happening? What is happening?
It's like, I know you're straight in real life and I know you don't want to be pigeonholed as the Cam character for the rest of your life, but baby,
this was not it. This was not it.
Can't you guys see what's going on? Someone is trying to frame us.
Who wants to frame us?
I don't know. But think about it. The body's cuffed to the bed. It's impossible to move. The Latin, the knife. Someone did this for a reason. Hell, the cops could be here any second.
Yeah, but none of us know who this girl is. We don't even know how she got in here.
Who else knew about the arrangement? Who else knows about our arrangement? Did anyone blab?
Walk of Shame. I don't know where this movie came. This 2002-esque movie somehow got made in 2014.
Elizabeth Banks said, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that.
It's sexist and racist and like... it's not, I guess it's not homophobic. I guess it doesn't get the full trifecta because like
it's weird. It's almost if you ask anyone, when do you think this movie was made? You would say like 2002. Yeah. 2014, we're out here making these types of jokes. And it's almost as if Elizabeth Banks desperately wanted to be those guys back in the day and is trying to prove that she can do it. And it's like, but should you do it is the real question here. About James specifically, there's nothing there. Like, he
looks cute in her dress. There's a scene where he like tries on her dress.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, also like not how news works in this movie.
No.
It's like she does an alleged like hate crime at like a synagogue and like police are...
And also Carly Rae deserves better. She like sings Call Me Maybe and I was leave Carly Rae out of this.
But like cops on the scanner are like, there's a hate crime at a synagogue. I'm like, who told them?
Yeah. Who told them?
Who called that in? Like, not how news works.
Now he's like mid-ground. Now he's like building back up, I feel like. He does the David O. Russell film Accidental Love, The D Train, Into the Grizzly Maze, which is also just called Grizzly, and Unfinished Business. I've seen all 4 of these movies.
What a bad year. What a
bad year.
Sometimes we're like, oh, we had a banger year. It's like whatever the opposite of that is, 2015 is for. I mean, honestly, lump in 2014 too. 2 very bad years.
I would even say 2017, the next to the Female Brain and Shock and Awe, like just a bad 4 years.
Yeah, Accidental Love, maybe one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Like, yeah, holistically.
For all of the talk of it being taken away from David O. Russell, so much of it feels like David O. Russell that I was like a little shocked because I was expecting it to not. And no, it does. It feels like early David O. Russell, but whereas like I can't think of the name of the movie he made with Ben Stiller that I really like, it's like the opposite of that. It's so weird. And I read like some trivia thing that was like, oh, it comes out after Obamacare is passed, like rendering its message moot. And I was like, no, like we still don't have universal health care. Like, yeah. It does, like the message is there. It's just delivered so poorly.
Are you thinking of Flirting with Disaster?
Flirting with Disaster. Yes. Ben Stiller, Tay Leone. I like that movie a lot. I do not like David O. Russell. I think he's a total asshole. But yeah, this movie's really bad. James Marsden plays, he's a cop who's going to get married to Jessica Biel. She accidentally gets a nail in her head. And like it leads to kooky, crazy emotional outbursts later on because she can't get it removed because she doesn't have insurance.
The movie it's just an SNL sketch that doesn't end.
No, truly. And Jake, I feel like I bash Jake Gyllenhaal maybe once every 3 episodes. Jake Gyllenhaal, what are you doing? What are you doing?
It's crazy. I don't know when he made this. Like, I don't know, between Prince of Persia or something else. Because he's like this congressman
who's
very
like ripped.
But in crazy town ripped. The tone of this movie is bonkers. Nothing is funny here. Nothing. Nothing.
I didn't laugh once. No. And usually you can get even like a pity laugh out of me. I'm a pretty easy laugh.
It's incredible.
I real quick just want to mention Into the Grizzly Maze, which is not a good movie, but like kind of I love watching a movie that like thinks it's Jaws and it is not.
We need to talk about the D Train.
I would like to talk about the D Train. It's a bad movie. I weirdly think I liked it better than you did.
Yeah, I really didn't like it. It's interesting though that like there's this theme throughout his career where he is playing either bi or queer characters, but it's very like nonchalant. It's very kind of like no labels, just like vibes. To me it falls into the genre of movie where like Jack Black is playing someone who is insufferable and I'm not going to feel sorry for him. Like I'm not going to.
Okay. And I will accept that. And like maybe he's sort of miscast, but I also think there's a little bit of a misdirection, and not misdirection as in like look this way, and not like badly directed. I know you like mentioned, you were like Mike White fell off. He only produced this. I wish as a producer he'd been like, we need to like think out this script, especially because this is the man that wrote and directed Chuck and Buck, and it's actually like kind of deals with similar themes. But essentially Jack Black is this guy who like is a loser but is also the self-appointed head of his reunion committee, and he sees James Marsden, who was kind of this like cool guy he went to high school with, in a commercial, and is like, oh my God, he's so famous, we got to get him to the reunion. And so he like goes to LA and they get drunk together and James Marsden fucks him. Literally, there's a scene of him fucking him. And Jack Black doesn't really know what to do with that, and then sort of devolves into like a jealous lover as James Marsden like invades his life by like coming to the reunion and whatnot. I think there's a deeper core here that's really interesting about sexuality and about like those questions and whatnot. And I do think the movie is surprisingly really not judgmental about it. Like there's like the next day shower scene in it, and I think a lesser comedy, the instinct would be like Jack Black would be so disgusted at what he did, and he's not. He's kind of just like, where do
What
I
just
go?
happened? Yeah. I will say, like, it does walk that line of, like, it's not, no one is, even when the big secret comes out that he fucked him, no one is, like, giving him shit about it. It's just kind of like, you're the fucking craziest liar I've ever met.
Okay. What do you want to talk about, Dad?
You know what I want to talk about?
Yeah? What do you want to hear? Huh? You want to hear that I want to be with you?
What? Oliver, wait, why did the music stop?
Did that do it for you, Dan? You tell me. You want to hear that I can't stop thinking about when we fucked?
No, outside.
That I'm rock hard right now just thinking about it? How's that? Oh, Dan, I can't wait to get my dick back in your mouth. I'm so dying to make you come since you didn't last time. How's that? Maybe that's what you're looking for.
Oliver.
No. Let's fucking talk, man. You wanted to do this? Let's talk. Let's get some closure. How do we end this? How's this? It meant nothing to me. You weren't even a blip on my fucking radar.
I just wish that any of that could have been deeper, and I think there's like an ending monologue to the movie that ruins the entire fucking film. Like, just really is like an affront to everything you've just watched.
And I learned to love myself. The end.
By being a total fucking asshole. Like, it's the weirdest, because it's like an anti-moral in a way, and I don't.
It's the whole thing about him being a loser is that, like, he's not being honest. He's not telling people what he wants, what he needs. He's trying to flex for his wife. Also, my God, he's a big fucking loser, but he has Catherine Hahn as a wife, and like
he's married to Catherine Hahn,
and like a middle-aged child. It's like it's so hard for me to be like, poor guy. Like, even his boss, who he's lied to the entire time, is like, you could have gone over the weekend. You didn't have to drag. You didn't have to drag me into any of this. And it's like
the subplot that his son is like gonna have a threesome, and it's gonna be like more sexual experience than he's ever had, is a really weird subplot. But there's a really good moment towards the end where his son like is like, I know that you fucked James Marsden, like, and Jack Black like breaks down and cries. And if that moment had just lasted a beat longer before it tried to like hard pivot to humor, it could have been something, and it just doesn't. And I know there's no point in watching a movie and wishing it was something else, but I felt oddly connected to this film in a way that like I was like, I'm literally like I can fix him, daddy.
Yeah.
About this movie.
I wonder though, like, a lot of the fix would be just like not Jack Black.
Yeah.
Because I think Jack Black's energy is just too manic and brings it to a place where it's like, it's so hard to like want to like this guy, because there is like complicated weirdness, but like it just devolves into like something completely else. Like, Jack Black is in another fucking space-time continuum than this movie. Everyone else is a real human, and he's not. But we're again though, just like a weird fucking movie. Like, why is James here? Like, weird.
The Female Brain and Shock and Awe in 2017.
Saw both.
Yeah.
Shock and Awe feels like a movie where he was like, and now an Oscar.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a very good story,
right?
But it's like
it is a good story, yeah.
But I don't. Why is Jessica Biel here? Why are we doing rom-com in the middle of this? Why?
Right. Well, that's what it really wants. What Spotlight has, and it can't pull it off at all. And I think I would literally blame Rob Reiner for that, the director who's also in it. I just think that James Marsden was like a Rob Reiner political movie. Like, I'm in, but
it feels like someone, because it's based on a true story about how the reporters at Knight Ridder were the only ones who actually had the story about Iraq and 9/11 and Afghanistan and the invasion of Iraq, and like how it was like a big nothing burger. Everyone else was reporting that, there are weapons of mass destruction. I will say, like, always loved good shitting on like the New York Times and Judith Miller.
And Judy Miller specifically.
Yeah, fuck her a lot. But I think this is a classic case of like, I don't know how involved the people in the true story were in this, but like this needed to be moved to someone else who can say like, we need to cut this down to be leaner and meaner and like not as this was like gift wrapped of like
right.
It was too pretty about these two guys who had the story and no one else did. And I'm a sucker for journalist movies, and so like I appreciate it, and I think it's a very important story. But like the movie's kind of like full of hot air.
And like, you know, he does a cameo as Burt Reynolds in the expanded cut of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I've seen, and he shockingly looks so much like a young Burt Reynolds. But like, really, this is, and we're gonna talk. I mean, I feel like you guys would hate us if we didn't talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, but this, I want to say, post this as like TV era, because he starts doing Westworld in 2016. He also joins the cast of Dead to Me in 2019. Both of those are concurrent until 2022. He does The Stand in 2020 to 2021, which is a mini series, and he does 2 episodes of Party Down in 2023, and then all 9 episodes of Jury Duty in 2023. You know, and the only movies he's really doing during that time are Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Disenchanted. And these are, I would say he has a really large part in the first Sonic the Hedgehog, but Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Disenchanted, he's like clearly doing on his weekends.
Yeah, I mean, like, these are kind of like paycheck movies. They're also like kid movies. I think the Sonic movies are actually pretty decent.
Yeah,
like
I was a little shocked at how low the stakes were in the.
Yes,
and I think it's because I'm so used to like Marvel movies that literally the first Sonic movie is just Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik wants to kill a fucking animal.
Yeah, and they were like, you know, we should just give Jim Carrey like space and time to do bits.
Yep.
And honestly, work. Like it works. And so he's getting paychecks, making kids movies for a lot of that era because he's doing his TV shit.
Right. It's funny. He's a huge Jim Carrey fan. Like Jim Carrey was like one of his idols when he was a teen, and I love listening to him talk about Jim Carrey because it's like. He's not faking it. Like he like loves Jim Carrey. So the fact that he got to be in a movie with Jim Carrey and watch him work. And I think that like also kind of expanded my brain as to like, oh, that's who James Marsden like pictures himself. Like he even did one interview where he's like, I really wanted to show him my Fire Marshal Bill impersonation because I think it's pretty good.
Incredible.
But I just couldn't find a way to bring it up in conversation.
Yeah. I mean, and like, you can like kind of see that when he's going for broke, he is kind of giving his Jim Carrey, like, you know, wannabe moment. Were you a Westworld person?
Not really. I watched the first episode and I was like, this seems fine, but I
never got it.
It literally started around the time we started the podcast, and so I was like, I've got more homework to do.
No, I never was, but people seem to like it, and then they seem to not. And now HBO has banished it forever, so whatever. I do like Dead to Me.
He's great in Dead to Me as well.
He was supposed to only be in the first season, and they said, bring him back. And then, like, we're talking about him, or not we, but, like, the universe is talking about him because of Jury Duty. And, like, LOL, that's the first time he's, like, you know, kind of gotten a big, like, awards notice is for playing this heightened version of himself in Jury Duty. And I fucking Jury Duty is great. Like, I love it. It's so fun.
It's so fun. I binged all of it. Literally, like, I've been waking up early for the job I've currently been working. And last week I was literally up until like 1:30 in the morning because I watched the second to last episode, and it ends with the big reveal.
Yeah, and you can't stop there.
Yeah, I was like, I need to know more. I'm like, yeah.
So, the moment when he's like on his phone with his agent, he's like, "Please don't tell me Chris Pine got it."
Chris Pine, I know.
Oh, that is maybe because you know it's real. Like that's real.
Right.
Like that has happened to him.
Right, and that's exactly. That's all I could think of was like his and then I brought up Chris Pine, but there's a great NPR interview with him where he talks about like, he's always loved playing that sort of heightened version of himself.
I made it clear that it was important to me that I didn't want to be a part of a prank show.
Right.
I was not interested in being cruel or mean-spirited at all. I do this kind of bit on set sometimes when we're sitting around waiting for the cameras to be set up. I'm not talking about Jury Duty. I'm talking about every other movie or TV show I've ever been a part of. And I just think it's a funny little bit to like pretend like you're the actor who is trying to be affable and like self-deprecating, but really what comes through is the the narcissism and the conceited nature of, it's that whole thing of like I would do a little bit on set and be like, I don't think people really truly understand how difficult it is to be an actor. I know there are really tough and dangerous vocations out there, but I don't think people really know how hard it is. I'm sorry, the coffee is a little lukewarm.
These ice cubes are too cold.
Right. Right. And so, I don't know. I just thought the idea of sending up that sort of trope and playing with it, and I'm doing it in my own shoes, was an exciting, funny thing for me to explore.
But then to like do it for a real live human being, and and he's like, especially this guy like who is so open-hearted that you want him to like you.
Yeah.
So then you have to be like, I hope he doesn't think I'm a sociopath, just that I'm a human.
Right.
I highly recommend, and it's for free, and
on Freevee.
Freevee. It's totally worth everyone's time. We don't talk about TV that much on this show, but I would really recommend. It's 8 episodes long, I think, altogether, and
so good.
He also does a lot of voice work over the years. He does the Henchman, My Little Pony, A New Generation, Paw Patrol, the Mighty movie. So he is definitely making the rounds. But just to give like a tiny touch into his personal life, there's not a lot of, he's not like a big tabloid guy. Like there's not a lot of information out there about him. He married Mary Elizabeth Lind, daughter of Dennis Lind, on July 22nd in the year 2000. They have 2 children, a son born in 2001 and a daughter born in 2005. And they divorced in 2011. He also has a son that was born in 2012 with model Rose Costa. I don't think they're married. I think they've just been together since then. Yeah. So like 3 kids by the age of 50. Like that's sort of like the model. He's the model life.
He's got his 2.5 children.
Exactly. But yeah, I think that sort of wraps up James Marsden. Why don't we get in our 1-star reviews to get those knocks in before we talk about the positive stuff?
All right. You can go in a lot of different directions here because, like we said, there are a lot of if there are banger years, then there must be MASH years, and so these are, like we mentioned, the MASH years of like the early 2010s. I think I just have to give it to As Cool as I Am. I
understand.
It's a comedy drama. It is based off of a book of the same name. It's wants to be like indie, like weirdo, cookie bookie. There's this girly...
Oh my god, the scene where they like walk around their neighborhood feeding the dogs is their like Easter tradition.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
There's a girly who's like a tomboy, and like she has to take care of her mother because her mom, Claire Danes, is like, I don't know, lying to her dad, and she has a job, and also like she's very much like the vibe of like, she's not my mom, she's my friend, and like hates her for it. Who does she have an affair with? She has an affair with someone.
There's like 2 different men, nonetheless. Like, isn't there? Like,
it's Jeremy Sisto. It's Jeremy Sisto. Also, her best friend is Anika Noni Rose, who maybe
bless her heart, she is getting paid.
She has maybe 2 scenes in this entire film. It's just. Anytime James Marsden is on the scene, it's like, what do you mean mom's working? And like aggressively just aggressively like mean and angry and like heteronormative. You know, I just kept thinking like, again, the straights aren't okay. Claire Danes' career worst.
Yeah. I think the biggest sin of the movie is it deals with some things that I feel like are much more prevalent in young adult novels, but not so much in young adult films. And I thought that like that stuff could have been interesting if it was just a better movie. But I was like impressed because I think a lot of young adult stuff now edges a little more towards less controversy because they don't want their books banned. But this like deals a lot with sex and sexual assault and abortion. And I was like, oh, these are really interesting, but this movie's so nothing that it just...
But also, like, the sex stuff and the abortion stuff is... This movie is not about this girl. Like, they give so much of this movie away to Claire Danes and, like, her need to, like, fall back in love with this high school guy and go to Mexico. And, like, they give her hobby, her dream is to become a chef. And she watches...
Mario Batali. Pre-cancellation. Yeah.
Like, tough. But like a lot of sins committed here. And James is bad, but only as bad as like the movie is bad. Like I don't think like, but I will say like the tone is just fucking wild because it's like, it's not like domestic violence vibes, I don't think. And
no, and that's what's weird. And not that I want to watch him commit domestic violence, but but it seems to imply that he's like really aggro, except for with Claire Danes.
But also like he doesn't want her to work. But like also Claire Danes is literally cheating on him. Yeah. Like she's not a saint in this either. And by the end, the daughter is like, I don't fucking need you and you don't come around here anymore. And then he just kind of like rides off into the sunset. All around, just like not good filmmaking, not good acting, not good writing.
So I should want to be tortured and mutilated rather than have sex with a guy I really like. Is that the moral to this story?
This is not the person I want you to be, Lucy.
Who do you want me to be? You want me to be like Mom, who, as it happens, you got pregnant when you were both exactly my age.
Your mother and I gave up everything. We got married to have you.
What? How about if I'm a self-centered, immature, controlling high school dropout who uses every excuse not to be with my family? Is that the person you want me to be? Such an awesome role model, Dad.
It sort of sucks, and I'm not saying that you can't. I think this is an excellent 1-star review pick. It sort of sucks to be like this indie film, this first-time filmmaker, but like somebody at some point had to be like, we need something here. Like we need style or like another pass on the script or just something that like...
It should have stayed a book.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
That's my 1-star review. What about you, Gavin?
My 1-star review is 2006's Lies and Alibis. It's also known as The Alibi outside the US. It came out direct to video here. It's a movie about Steve Coogan, who plays like a fixer who like runs a service for adulterous husbands, essentially. And he gets involved with Rebecca Romaine, and he works for James Brolin, who's this very rich man whose family has a history of cheating on their wives. And his son, James Marsden, now wants to cheat on his girlfriend. And on his first night with this woman he's cheating, he like accidentally kills her.
Hey, when it happens.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
It's a prelude to The Loft.
Basically. And the whole movie, like it's so funny to find out that this movie was written by Noah Hawley, who created the Fargo TV show. Because this movie,
very weird.
This movie is very Coen Brothers light, like wants to be Coen Brothers. There's assassins, there's policemen, jealous ex-lovers. Like it's a huge cast. Sam Elliott's in it, Jamie King's in it. Debbie Mazar, Henry Rollins, Terry Crews in a smaller role. John Leguizamo has cornrows in it. And I was like, could we not? Selma Blair. It's like really complicated, and the movie really very much hinges on how charming you find Steve Coogan when he's not playing himself. And that answer is kind of, I don't.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm giving it my 1-star review specifically for James Marsden is this is a nothing role. Like this is the one time I was like, he didn't even show up. Like he's literally playing the bass of just like, I'm a guy who killed someone. Why can't you get me off? Like, why can't help me out, guy?
She is a Mexican. No, she's a boyfriend who's a Mexican. Well, he is a Hispanic American, but he would fucking kill both of us if he knew. And the guy at the bed and breakfast saw me. I think he saw me. He was, this was all her idea, so I don't
Shut up, Wendell. Did you have any idea? You killed a girl.
I'm sorry, believe me. Fuck, you think I wanted this to happen? Look, the good thing is, it's your name on the hotel bill, right? Not mine. So technically, I wasn't even there. You're not gonna tell my dad, are you?
Anybody could have played this role. James Marsden brings nothing special to it, no flavor. Like, so it's just like, why? Why did he take this role? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, these are young filmmakers, so I'm sure the payday wasn't exactly huge on this one, especially after it went direct to video. I don't know.
And this is post X-Men.
Yeah, this is post X-Men. I truly don't know what any of the thought process was about this.
Yeah.
Like, this feels like the movie he would have made maybe after getting off that Noah Ark show.
Yeah.
But like second Noah or Noah's second, whatever that is. But not after X-Men.
Yeah.
Certainly not after X-Men.
Certainly not after The Notebook. Like, hello?
Yeah. I don't recommend watching this movie. Poor Rebecca Romijn. She's so good at it. Also, cardinal sin with me. This movie uses the Barker role from Tales of Hoffman, which is like my favorite opera, twice in it. And neither time it's used well at all. So like, don't do that. Don't do that to poor.
Do that.
Offenbach. He doesn't deserve that.
There are some pretty bad. Accidentally in Love or Accidental Love is truly one of like. If I could give a neg Oscar for like worst cast ensemble, Accidental Love, truly.
If I had to pick a second one, but I don't think I could, with good conscience, give a 1-star review for James Marsden for it. There's this film he made in 2012 called Small Apartments. It's a disgusting movie. It's another movie with a great cast. Like, it's like Billy Crystal, Rebel Wilson, Saffron Burrows, Amanda Plummer, Dolph Lundgren, Johnny Knoxville, Juno Temple. Like, it's a great cast. Matt Lucas is the lead in it. Matt Lucas is one of the only celebrities who ever had me blocked on Twitter.
Wow, all that?
I think it's because I'm friends with somebody who wrote something mean about him once, and I think it was like an auto chain block thing. But I was still like, what the fuck did I do to you? Not that I like you very much, but yeah, it's really bad. It's a movie that has very much contempt for its subjects, and it's all about mental illness and whatnot, and it like thinks it's being quirky and weird, and it's gross. But I will say this, there's a scene in which Billy Crystal and James Caan just like have a conversation, and I was like, wow, acting.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
Where was this in the rest of the movie? But yeah, there's so many of these, and I feel like we would have more time like just naming the like Walk of Shame, The Loft, like
Interstate
60, 10th and Wolf.
10th and Wolf is fine. It's very
fine. Yeah,
it's like, I'm sure straight people like it.
Unfinished Business too, which is a movie we didn't really talk about, but it's the last one I watched, and it's so bad and doesn't warrant any conversation. But I think that sort of wraps up our 1-star reviews. Why don't we get into our 5-star reviews and talk about Mr. Cheekbones himself and what we like so much about him.
Thank goodness we're out of there. Oh, I hate talking ill of a man, of my husband. My 5-star review, and I think there's some really great casting where he just is really firing, but I think the best of the best is 2007's Enchanted. It's just every secret weapon, the reason why you get James Marsden on a film is on display here. He's talked about how this was the only time he read a script and immediately knew exactly who this was, knew exactly how he was going to play it. This movie was kind of a groundbreaking at the time because it was mixed animation and mixed real life. It was a return to hand-drawn Disney vibes. Like Gavin mentioned earlier, Princess Giselle has been banished into the real world by Nerissa, Prince Eric. Is it Eric or Edward? Edward. Prince Edward's mother, who is secretly evil. And she is learning that all the Disney tropes of princesshood and happily ever after are fake. Falls in love with McDreamy. Prince Edward goes to New York to try and find her, and he is just the most swashbuckling, smiley, confused himbo prince man. But he's just so funny and so endearing and so charming, handsome as hell, of course.
Great voice.
Great voice. Oh my God. The scene where he's singing to her and he's you're not singing, waiting for her to sing.
I've been dreaming of a true love's kiss.
He sings too.
And a miss I have begun to miss. Pure and sweet, waiting to complete my love song. Yes, somewhere there's a maid I've never met who was made to finish.
What's wrong?
It's just so good. All the scenes where he's the little chipmunk is trying to tell him about the guy who's being evil. And he's just what?
He's I'm handsome?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, please, magic mirror. Please tell me where. He's hamming it up to 11, but it just makes so much sense. And he even talked about in an interview, everyone on set was how big are we taking this? What is the vibe? And luckily him and Amy Adams and everyone just said, oh, we're going to go fucking balls to the wall. And the tone is just so perfect. And he gets to display all the chops, all of them. He's charming. He's funny. He's song and dance man. He gets to do it all. It's great.
Two things that are not even about him necessarily. Amy Adams was audition 175 of 200 women. And she wasn't a big star yet then. So they cast her because she was slightly unknown. But it's just wild to be she was that deep into the audition process, but they were oh, she gets it. And then also Disney was going to make Princess Giselle an official Disney princess. And then they realized they would have to pay likeness rights to Amy Adams for the rest of her life.
Sure.
Fucking business. Fucking business.
Yeah.
He's so good as Edward. Truly, truly, truly really steals that movie. I think the only thing that would keep me from naming it my 5-star review is I rewatched it and was kind of this movie's fine. I was
I'm taken by
it's very cute. It's very cute. Yeah.
I'm taken by the charm. Unfortunately, I think what Disney did with Enchanted is that they created a mess for themselves because now the machine of it, that's why we get Frozen and these movies that don't have villains and puncturing the magic, quote unquote, right? The Disney magic of romance and True Love's Kiss and all this stuff. They've created this mess that we're in now, where it's harder to make these movies. But
I did watch Disenchanted. I think that's really bad. And I think felt like a TV movie, even though they clearly spent money on it. I just think I understand the thought process Enchanted made so much money, you have to make a sequel. But like, if the script's not there, like,
you don't
do it.
You don't got it, babes.
Yeah. And he had to, like, they really had to marginalize his role because he was both busy wrapping up Westworld and Dead to Me at the same time, and like had a very limited shooting range. So that's why, like, literally in the like big climactic moment, like, Giselle has to be like, "Where's Edward?" and Idina Menzel has to be like, "He stayed behind." Like,
rough.
Good pick though. He's so good. He's so good in it, in that role. Sort of what he was born to play.
Absolutely.
Funny enough, I'm also going to go with 2007 because it's finally happened. Hairspray got my 5-star review.
Wow, there we go.
We've mentioned Hairspray so many times. This is the musical version. And funny enough, directed by Adam Shankman, who directs the sequel to Enchanted, Disenchanted. And he plays Corny Collins, who's the host of a like Top of the Pops / American Bandstand type show where, you know, local to Baltimore, but like young white kids can go and dance. And then once a week they have a day in which black people can go and do it. And he's a force for like attempting to integrate it, but like the TV station won't let that happen because whites and black people can't be together. And so he really is responsible for helping Tracy, a larger white girl, get on the show, and she leads the charge for integrating the show. I love this performance. I think the way that he's able to turn on the like TV, like, hey, I'm on TV, I'm Corny Collins, like, versus when he's off screen and he's like a normal person, but like a normal person who believes in the goodness of other people and the right thing to do and whatnot. I think it'd be very easy, even though once again this is based off of pre-existing material, I think it'd be very easy to make the Corny Collins character a villain, to make him, you know, be the force of non-integration. But he's very much like, listen, I'm the face of this show, I want this to happen. Yeah. And they're still like, no, we're not going to let it happen.
We don't want our dancers thrusting like savages.
Hey, speak for yourself.
Don't get flipped with me.
I'm not. Look, now I got some new ideas for the show. First, we get rid of Negro Day.
Finally, some sense out of you.
And we mix those kids in with the rest of the council.
Mix those kids?
That's right, I said it.
Is this not a black and tan cocktail?
Well, why couldn't it be? Velma, isn't this where it's all heading anyway? Now you can fight it or you can rock out to it.
Maybe it is time for some fresh ideas. Like a nice, fresh, new host.
Gee, Velma, how do you fire Corny Collins from the Corny Collins Show?
I think also, like, is it the nicest kids in town? That's the number.
Yes.
The way he just moves and dances.
Yes.
It's just, it's so natural. And also, I have to say, again, like, he, in both of these movies, he is playing the most conventionally attractive person, but they are not about, like, showing off his ripped bod or, like, you know, being so conventionally masculine. He's literally wearing tights and, like, being a goofball in Enchanted. And in Hairspray, you know, he's singing and dancing, you know?
He's like bright white teeth, like 1,000 teeth in his mouth.
Yeah.
Like perfectly coiffed hair, like spraying cans of hairspray around, you know, like...
There's nothing particularly manly about either of these roles, especially in Hairspray. And I just think that's a quality that I think is one of his superpowers, where he gets to, you know, men want to be him, women want to, like, be with him, and everyone in between. It's just, we said this up top, like 2007 was just his year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I 100% agree. I mean, I think there's an argument to be made for, like, X-Men 2 as a 5-star review, but I just think he's not given enough to do during it. And I'm trying to think of some other, maybe 27 Dresses. I'm not as hot on it as you are, but I like his performance a lot in it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think 27 Dresses is a 5-star movie.
Yeah.
And
I'm kind of there too.
And I don't think those roles, like the one in 27 Dresses and in Walk of Shame, he's just like a boring guy,
right?
Like, and even though he's charming and like, you know, thank goodness he gets the girl in the end. It's not what he is good at. What he was meant to do on this earth was to sing and dance and and ham it up. Okay, like, and he's not able to do those things for any of this. I will say, and again, I don't know. The 24th Day, I think he is very good in it.
No, and that's great. I should watch it. I kept forgetting it was like on my list, and I kept like pushing it back and not.
It's just it's just a weird performance. He's clearly a liar, and he has a lot of shame about like how many sexual partners he's had. There's a moment where the Scott Speedman's character says something to the effect of, "Why don't you fucking care? You don't fucking care that you killed my wife. You're killing me," and he just kind of breaks down. James Marsden, and he says, "Man, are you fucking kidding me? I wish I didn't care about this. Everyone tells us we have to be so careful. Everyone says, you know, that we're going to get HIV. He's like, I wish I could just lay with someone and be with them and not care. But, and it's like this fear, right, around HIV and stuff. And I was like, my God, like it's a very powerful, affecting scene, and he's very good in it. So, but again, I just don't know because the movie's so fucking weird.
Right. But I think there's maybe an argument to really be made for, like, in terms of scene stealing, Death at a Funeral. Once again, not a 5-star movie, but I think he's very good in that role. Even though I did say Alan Tudyk is better in the original, I still think he like takes it and runs with it in a different direction. But yeah, but I mean, I think. I think it's those two. I think it's Hairspray and
yeah, but it's like
Enchanted.
It's like we said though, like for someone who has all the skill and the tools, I don't think, and I think a lot of people say this, like Hollywood didn't know what to do with him, and also I think because he, like I think Chris Pine and all these other guys who were in that
these other Chris's
who were in that lane probably cared more than him.
Yeah.
He seems like so like unserious and kind of like unaffected by it, you know, like he wants to be dumb, he wants to be silly. He doesn't like and I don't think he gives off the macho bravado superhero vibe like Cyclops works because back then superheroes were like wearing black leather and like brooding, you know, like not doing the whole thing that they are now. So yeah, he's kind of like been this enigma that Hollywood can't crack because even though he has the leading man looks, everything else just doesn't. I keep thinking about Zac Efron. It's just kind of like
that's such an interesting comparison. I didn't think of Zac Efron once, but I like it. I understand where, you know.
Well, and it's like, I mean, the other is, I mean, in the opposite direction is Ryan Gosling, right? Ryan Gosling is a very serious, you know, he wants to do like the most indie, the most like weirdo, the most.
It's also to compare him to Ryan Gosling because when we did a Ryan Gosling episode, we kind of talked about how Ryan Gosling exists inside of a character. Like he puts on a fake voice to do interviews and stuff. And James Marsden doesn't have any of that artifice. And I think that's part of it, you know, as well, too, is like that. It's the thing I was saying about him versus Chris Pine earlier, too, where like Chris Pine also has leading man looks, but really wants to be a character actor, but every time that he plays a character it's like put me under pounds of makeup or like, you know, like I don't make me the dashing lead. And James Marsden's like, I'll play a character, but I'm gonna be James Marsden, you know. Like
yeah, it's interesting. And who knows, maybe Chris Pine has a better agent, more taste, is saying no to more things. Who fucking knows? But yeah, why wasn't? Do you think James Marsden went for Into the Woods? Maybe. Could have done it. Right? Why not? Interesting. Very interesting to ponder and think about. I had no idea we were going to get this deep into the weeds with James Marsden, and yet here we are.
Here we are. This is what we're here for. Before we get into our fast forward, why don't we do our mixed reviews review?
My 1-star review is 2013's As Cool as I Am.
And my 1-star review is 2006's Lies and Alibis.
My 5-star review is 2007's Enchanted.
And my 5-star review is also in 2007 with Hairspray.
All right, let's get into our fast forward.
So he has a couple things coming up. There's a movie in post-production called Knox Goes Away. It's I think it's actually out of post-production because I think our friend Christy has seen it.
Oh.
And it's Michael Keaton directing. I don't know. It's like Al Pacino's in it. Marcia Gay Harden's in it.
It's allegedly coming out next month.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely out of post-production then. As somebody who works in post, it's out. But yeah, it's a crime movie. I don't know. Maybe it'll be good. Who knows? Sonic the Hedgehog 3, he's filming. I'm sure he's cashing some fat checks for that.
Good for him. Also, we'll say him and Tika Sumpter as a couple.
Yes.
Hot. Love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like good and believable. And like, I know he's like he's kind of like a chemistry factory, but like they're so cute together.
They're
like,
so cute together.
He's also in, but so is literally all of Hollywood, the Jerry Seinfeld Netflix movie Unfrosted, the Pop-Tart Story, directed by Jerry Seinfeld, written by 4 different people. I don't know. Is it going to be good? Who knows?
Literally, like what? Did Jerry Seinfeld be like, I have a crazy story? Or like, did he read a book?
I feel like he must have read a book. Like that's
apparently Netflix got this big bidding war to like win the rights to it. Yeah, it's Melissa McCarthy, Jim Gaffigan, Amy Schumer, Hugh Grant. Like it's
Amy Schumer.
I know, fucking enough.
Yeah, Jennifer Lopez. Enough.
My girl.
We'll talk. Yeah, I don't like.
It's almost like there's a part of him that's like, I'm not mad if he's in his kid era, make Sonic movies, make Paw Patrol movies. Great, whatever.
Right.
But I don't know if Unfrosted, the Pop-Tart Story, and Knox Goes Away. I do think he needs to be a little bit more selective.
Yeah.
Or take some of that Sonic the Hedgehog money.
Yeah.
And like really find something that he can get behind him, because he hasn't produced anything. He's never like kind of
right.
But and again, that goes back to like, not that I like ever think fucking Bradley Cooper is like a paragon of anything, but like that's a man who says this is exactly what I want, and I'm going to do it.
I'm going to create my own work. Like,
Jennifer Lopez,
yeah.
People who are ambitious with their artistry and acting, but I think that's just like maybe his fatal flaw. He's like doesn't care that much.
Right. And he has said, like, if Marvel knocks on his door to be Cyclops again, he's like, I'd be an idiot to pass it up. Like,
yeah.
He knows where his bread is buttered, but he doesn't he's not willing to like wait in line for that bread. He's not willing to like pay any extra for it. Like he just sort of exists in the Hollywood game. And you're right. I think maybe it is, because like even Chris Pine, like, is directing a movie, like he has a movie coming out that he directed. Like, I think it is that. I think it is like he doesn't really have any higher ambition than to be the actor that he is. And that's fine, you know, like he's getting paid, he's still getting cast, he's doing these things. But like, it does feel like a little bit of a waste, because he is so talented.
Yeah, I think he just likes kind of being like the silly, affable guy,
right,
who you can call on to do the thing. It's like
because we often get to the fast forward and we're like, I'd love to see him on stage. I don't think he wants to be on stage. I don't think he's interested in doing 8 shows a week for an audience. Like, he's got kids and everything. And I was thinking about this though. What a gag it would be if he did, like, because Hugh Jackman's now too old, if they made like a film out of the boy from Oz, or because he can do an Australian accent, or if they did like another version of the Music Man and he just like took it out from under. Like,
I mean, yeah, that would be a gag. It's funny because we didn't even think about this. The Hugh Jackman of it all. Hugh Jackman is handsome, can sing and dance,
right?
You know, but I guess he has like kind of the same. The little rom-com here, has been trying to find a dramatic thing to like make him serious. Never has really happened.
But it goes back to exactly what you were talking about at the beginning of the episode, which you were like, Hugh Jackman does Wolverine and gets fucking ripped. It's like, don't know what's going on in Hollywood, maybe enhancements, whatever. But like, James Marsden doesn't want to do that. Like, he's like, and
like, of course he's got like a Hollywood bod, I'm not saying he's like like Uggo or anything, but it's like he's clearly not like interested in having like the enormous biceps. He is like just kind of normal guy, and I think as part of that, it's not because. And here's the thing: he's not a theater person. Hugh Jackman is a theater person, and he's so sincere and is so earnest in wanting the thing. And I think Ryan Gosling's the same way. I think Chris Pine's the same way. James Marsden, he's too cool. He's like he's kind of like the stoner slacker friend who's like, yeah, I can do that, but like I don't want to work for it.
James Marsden, stoner slacker.
Say that. But yeah, I do. Maybe with jury duty, there will be some more pathways opening up for him. It's a little bit insane that he hasn't taken advantage of like the streaming of it all. Like there are so many movies. Like why hasn't Amazon giving a movie? Why?
But I think it's because he's been doing all the TV stuff. I think it's truly that. Like because he did The Stand, which was Paramount Plus. Like Dead to Me is Netflix. Westworld HBO, but like it's that sort of, or even like the shock. I truly think him doing jury duty is maybe the most shocking thing he's done forever, because it truly doesn't, like if he were as like not as interested, then I feel like he wouldn't have done jury duty, and so that's maybe like the exception that proves the rule or whatever.
But would Chris Pine have done that? Would Ryan Gosling have done that? Would Hugh Jackman like James Marsden was the perfect amount of famous, the perfect amount of silly fucking guy who's affable. Everyone knows him because we all know Cyclops. We all know The Notebook. We all like he's not even who's the Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Who has done, like the rom-coms, this drama stuff. Matthew McConaughey was able to like graduate into like actual A-list, status. But Matthew McConaughey wouldn't do this shit, like
right.
I don't mean this as a slight, but like James Marsden has always hovered in the B-list status. But I don't think it's a combination of like him not being ambitious and also Hollywood not knowing what to do with him. But what a place to be. And for all of this, like he still has some bangers,
Yeah.
And like we said at the top of the show, it's like, fuck, you can make all the bad movies you want, babe. Still like you. You're still cool.
Yeah. He still shows up.
Yeah.
But I think that's the perfect place to wrap up James Marsden. But if you want to contact us, tell us your favorite James Marsden role, you can always find us on Twitter at The Mixed Reviews.
Yeah, you're going to talk to us about how we're talking too much shit about James Marsden. He's very ambitious, okay? You can find us on Facebook at The Mixed Reviews.
We're going to get some angry emails from his mom, who's going to email us at reviewsmixed@gmail.com. You can also email us there.
Oliver, do you think he has a big fandom in Oklahoma?
I'm sure he does.
I hope he's in the Oklahoma Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's like the local boy does good.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram at _mix_reviews.
And if you want to listen to our back catalog as you just listened to this entire episode, you can always find us on any major podcast app. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google. Google's getting rid of theirs too, so I guess YouTube, like everybody's consolidating now. Amazon, Audible. And if you do like our show, please go to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating and write us a little review, and we'll read it on the show.
Yeah, because we're very ambitious, unlike James.
Exactly. But yeah, that's also join us on Patreon. If you sign up for our Patreon, we will be delivering bonus episodes. We also have a Discord. Discord's been hopping the past couple of days, it was a little lull for a bit, but the past couple of days there's been
Hop starring James Marsden.
Yeah, and Russell Brand.
Ugh.
We really let him be in kids movies.
Yeah. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. We have some special guests coming up, so
we do.
We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, every afternoon you turn your TV on.